This is the Messiah Hour with Ari Lewis.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Messiah Hour here on Israel Sports and News Radio. Thank you for joining us. We have a great show today. And as always, you can email us at messiahhour@gmail.com, or you can email the station at israelsportsandnewsradio@gmail.com. Obviously, a lot of turmoil going on in the Middle East, as usual. And online to discuss this and another trip on the horizon is Israel Sports and News Radio's European correspondent, Jane Kiel. Jane, welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much.
So let's talk about some turmoil that is going on. We know that a police officer was attacked. Obviously, the Iran deal is potentially finalized. There's a vote in Congress in a couple of weeks. Give us your assessment of the current situation.
Well, when I talk to people, I say it's never a boring moment in Israel, never a dull moment, because things are just happening all the time. And just to take the latest, when I woke up this morning to the news that yet another rocket was fired from Hamas in Gaza, and the IDF went in and took out a Hamas position in Gaza. And you know what? This happens almost every week now. Do you think the world hear anything about this? No. Yesterday I was in a meeting all night. When I came out, I see the headlines that an Arab man who actually came in illegal from Hebron ran up to the border police at the Damascus gate and started swinging an axe at them and with a knife. And then they started chasing him and they arrested him, but he wounded one of the soldiers. So, I mean, the rockets flying in from Gaza and the attacks on the Jewish people are still occurring pretty much every day here in Israel. And I wonder if the world hear about these things.
Well, the thing is, it seems like the world does not. So the question is, why is that?
That's the question. And that you and I have had that discussion before. You know, why is it that when something ever reads the news outside of Israel, it's always if Israel has done something. That's one of the things that I'm trying to do, you know, to speak up against that. There's a lot of things coming against the Jewish people, but it doesn't reach the mainstream media. And I don't know if we are in a state of mind now. The world is in a state of mind, you know what, it happens all the time. So who cares? And that is one of the reasons why I am really also trying to be a voice in regarding this whole new deal with Iran. You know, there's a phrase saying, never again. Never again what happened to the Jewish people in the Holocaust. And yet there was just made a new deal with Iran, who is this day's time's current Hitler. You know, back in 1938, Neville Chamberlain made a deal with Hitler, and we're kind of reliving what's happening now. The only thing is that it's much worse today, because it's not like the world doesn't know that the leaders of Iran has one main goal, and that is the complete destruction of the Jewish nation. They don't recognize Israel. They want to kill every Jew, and yet they were still made a deal with Iran now, pretty much giving them a carte blanche in doing whatever they want. You tell me what's going on and how the world can be this blind.
Well, you could argue that it's worse even now than during the times of World War II, because the weapons that Iran could get developing could destroy the entire planet.
Exactly. So I don't exactly know what's going on. And there are a lot of good people around in the world who are opposing this and are speaking out against it. But the fact of the matter is that the leaders of this world, the ones who are making things happening, are for this deal. And if they sign this, then Iran has free hands to do whatever they want. And it's not like they're hiding what they want. So yeah, you're asking me about an upcoming trip. I really feel in my heart, you know, I have been to the Yad Vashem Museum several times. I cry every time. You know, it's so effective when you go there and you see the shoes and the photos and the history and the stories from people surviving. And every time I go there, I've actually been saying to God, I can never go to the camps because, you know, I know I'm going to break down. It's going to be too hard. I went to New York. I saw the Anne Frank Museum. And again, I was like, God, this is enough. But with this deal and with the world, when I say the world, you know, I mean Obama and I mean Akara, France. I mean the nations who drafted this deal. It's like, how can you be so blind? And I just feel in my heart that it's time to go to Auschwitz. It's time to go to the place where so many Jews took their last breath. I have to go and take a deep breath where they took their last breath. I have to go and show to the world that this is what we are talking about. This is what happened. This is what can never happen again. And you are right now, if they get these weapons, they can take Israel out in one blow. It's not like the Holocaust that happened for so many years, and the Jews was, brought in trains from all over Europe and gassed in the chambers. That was horrible. This, with the new technology and everything, the new Holocaust could happen much more rapid. So I just feel in my heart, that I need to go there. I need to go and document. I need to go and make videos and report from the place where we are saying never again, because the visual effect has a mighty, mighty influence, on people today. So yes, I'm really trying to raise funds to go to Auschwitz and to try to be an even better advocate for Israel, to try to be an even bigger voice in my work here, to standing with the Jewish people when we say never again.
It's interesting because the last camp to be liberated was 1945, which is 70 years ago. And I think for some reason, it sounds weird to say this, but I feel like maybe people have forgotten what happened in the Holocaust, or there are people that think it wasn't as bad as it was. I mean, there are comments actually made by, I think, Natalie Portman saying it wasn't as bad comparatively. So do you think people have somewhat forgotten about the Holocaust because it was 70 years ago?
Yes, and that's the horrible thing. You know what? I just read now that Abu Mazen, Mahmoud Abbas, was speaking to some journalists from Poland. And you know what? He doesn't even recognize the Holocaust. He said, oh, well, that's just something the Jews said. He just spoke about that recently. That's just something the Jews says. And by the way, what happened to them is what they're doing today to the so-called Palestinians. You see, when lies like that are being spread, and people hear that all the time, and they hear that all the time, and I don't know how much education the children are getting in schools today regarding what you just said now, if people don't hear about it. And I think that's one of the facts why, I think you're right, that's one of the facts why something like a deal like this, only 70 years later, can even be on the table. It's unbelievable. And like I said, the attacks that are coming on the Jewish people all over the world, also here in Israel, and now a deal made with people who boldly and openly are saying we want the destruction of the Jewish people. I don't know what's going on, but there is just, for those of us who gets it and sees how terrible, terrible wrong this is, we need to stand up and we need to speak up, and that's really what I'm trying to do, just, my small part. And if that is moving my body from Israel, where I love and where I live now, to go to the camps, so I can show and I can document in new videos saying, guys, wake up. Look, this is what we are talking about. This is what they want again. Yes, I would like to do that. And I think it could have an effect for some of the people who maybe are saying, oh, okay, so who cares, or did it even happen?
Again, this is the Messiah Hour here on Israel Sports and News Radio. We're speaking with Jane Kiel. She is working on getting a trip to go to the camps, the Holocaust camps. I want to know if part of this video that you would make when you go visit the camps, would you include things like the meeting with Chamberlain in 1939 and talk about some of the history before the Holocaust, which led to the Holocaust?
Absolutely. Of course, I would have to talk to the people at the museum. There are rules for who can film and all of these things. But yes. First of all, I want to show this is what happened back then. This is what the Jewish people had to endure. And I know, what, just thinking about it actually brings tears in my eyes, and I can feel it in my throat, because what happened back then was so horrible. So I know that this is going to change my life. I know going to the camps is going to profoundly change who I am, how I think, how I feel about Israel, how to be an even better voice for this nation. Everybody who has been there saying, Jane, you're not going to be the same when you leave. And with the love and the compassion and the understanding that I have for this nation now, I just know I'm going to be hopefully even better in being that voice. But yes, definitely, I want to go now to show this, to draw the parallel of what we are facing today. And you know what? Someone told me, you know what, Jane, the Jews, we have talked about this before also, how the Jewish people always has been hunted and persecuted and killed. The anti-Semitism is not something new. The hate towards the Jewish people is not something new. And then the Holocaust happened. And Israel rose out of the ashes of the Holocaust. You know, Ezekiel 37 is talking about the dry bones. And I think just for a brief moment, because of the Holocaust, the world had compassion for Israel. Just for a brief moment, and we know how Israel was not born, but Israel was reborn in 48 and become a nation. You know, I think God swooped in and the people had compassion and Israel was reborn. That's fulfilling of scripture, you know, that Israel was reborn. And then what happened? The world turned against Israel again. Israel started winning wars. Israel has been to 6 wars for the last 40 years. And what happened? Despite the fact that Israel was completely outnumbered, miracle after miracle happened, and Israel won every single war they have been in. And what happened? The world turned against the Jews. And that's what we are facing today. So yeah, Israel came alive out of the Holocaust, out of the dry bones. Israel, the Jewish people have their own homeland, but they are not even safe here. They are surrounded by enemies, and they have enemies within. And they are the only nation that constantly has to justify being alive, to have a country, to have to justify this is our capital. We are entitled to live here in peace. The Jewish people are not what the Arabs are trying to, you know, they're villains and they are horrible country. The Jewish people are like every other country in the world. They just want to live in peace. They just want to have their babies. They just want to send them to school every day, to go to kindergarten and to go shopping and be left alone and not have a rocket flying from Gaza. Or don't have to worry about if I'm waiting for the train here, is there someone going to come and run me over? If I go down Damascus Gate, would I be stabbed? So all of these things are still coming towards the Jewish people today. And yeah, so I want to go and I want to draw the parallel from what happened in the past to what are the Jewish people enduring today in their own country around the world. And what are we possibly facing if this horrible, horrible deal is going to be signed in the U.S. Congress next month?
And let's talk a little bit about that deal because, interestingly enough, there are Jewish people who support the deal. There was the video of those Hollywood stars, a couple of them were Jewish, talking about how the deal is a good deal. There were a couple of prominent Israelis that came out for it. But tell us why you believe the deal is so bad.
First of all, I don't see what there is possibly good about this deal. This is pretty much a carte blanche, you know, to Iran. They can do pretty much what they want now. You know, they are getting all their assets that were frozen. They can do their ballistic missiles test. They can do their uranium. And if, by the way, if anybody wants to come and check what they're doing, they're going to give them a notice. What was it, 24 days? You know, there is nothing in this deal that makes sense at all. This is just evil upon evil upon evil. And Iran is the biggest supporter of terrorism all over the world. Iran is supporting every single Hamas, you know, Hezbollah, all these terror groups who also has one destruction or one goal, the destruction of the Jewish people. Iran is supporting all of these people, and now they are being free to do it even more. There is nothing good about this deal. It's like signing a deal with the enemy, you know, with the devil. So I really wish I could see into the minds of the people who are saying that there should be anything good about this deal. Iran is not going to be accountable in anything about this. This is pretty much giving them a carte blanche. And who's paying the price? Israel. Who is the only country that they are saying we want to eradicate? Israel. So once again, the world is selling out the Jews.
And beyond that, as I mentioned, I mean, Iran, it's not that they just want to destroy Israel. They also want to destroy America. I mean, don't they want to destroy the whole world as well?
You know what? I don't really like to say too many bad things, but Iran, it's an evil country. I mean, that's what they are saying, you know. When they go out, you know, Benjamin Netanyahu is saying, if your enemy are saying they want to eradicate you, you better believe them and you better do something about it first. And Iran has pretty much shown, you know, that they are not just talking, they are acting. And the Iran hate the West. They hate the West. They hate everything that we are standing for. They hate the freedom. They hate the democracy. So yes, they hate the West. But the matter of the fact is that their first aim and their first goal is to go for Israel. And then, of course, the big Satan is America. So why Obama wants to do this when they clearly are saying they also hate the Americans? I don't know, except the fact that I think maybe this guy is trying to get a legacy for his time that is up next year in the White House. He wants to have something that he can show, and he just made the West deal for the whole world.
But he's not going to have a legacy if the world doesn't exist.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
So you don't think Obama's doing it out of bad intentions, more out of incompetence, lack of intelligence?
You know what? I don't think Obama is a stupid guy, and he has a lot of people giving advice to him. So, and let's not forget, it's not just Obama. The European Union, France. You know what? Who made also a deal with Chamberlain back in 1938? France and England. And France and England is also the key player in this deal. And then, you know what, if you want to know if a deal is a bad deal, look who is applauding, look who's happy. That's all the terrorist states in the world. That's all the terrorist groups. That's Russia. You know, all the enemies of the West is applauding this deal. Then you know it's a bad deal. So why the President of the United States think that this is a good deal, we would have to ask him.
Well, he'd be welcome to come on my show and answer those questions, but I don't think he'll do that. But who knows what he's thinking. So about this trip, what can people out there who are listening to this program, what can they do to help you go on this trip and make this happen?
Yeah, I would be forever grateful. Listen, I'm trying to put a trip together where I bring a cameraman so we can go and film and we can document all these things. I can speak from there. With modern technology, I can use my phone. There's something now called Periscope where you can just film immediately. I can broadcast live. I have a page on Facebook called Israel One Nation where I'm going to upload things. And then I have my page. You know, my name is Jerusalem Jane. If you go on JerusalemJane.com, that's my homepage. Up on the right corner, there is a donate button. If you use that donate page and you write for Jane, all of this money is going to go to finance this trip so I can go boots on the ground, take a deep breath of air out on Auschwitz and report to the world that this is what we have to prevent what is happening. So please, yes, if anybody says, you know what, we need to see those images. We need to see photos from the camps again because we need to speak out and share to the world. You know what, we cannot let this happen again. Please go on the donate page on Jerusalem Jane.
Okay, so go to Jerusalem Jane.
JerusalemJane.com.
Okay.
Yes, and there is also a contact page where people can write to me and you can find my email address. So all the information is on JerusalemJane.com.
Okay, great. So everyone go to JerusalemJane.com and take a look and click on the donate button if you can. Jane, thanks for being on the program. And what you're doing is very important, so we definitely appreciate it. I hope the trip goes well. You're able to get it done and show those images to the Jewish people and to the world as well.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, indeed. Again, this is another episode of the Messiah Hour here on IsraelSportsNewsRadio.com. You can email me at MessiahHour@gmail.com or at the station's email, IsraelSportsNewsRadio@gmail.com. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and have a great day. Be well.